Mr. Oracle. Oh, Mr. Oracle. I made a video for you the other day, but my iPad overheated halfway through it. Um, Unfortunately, it overheated and quit taking video before I got into the really good stuff. But I mean, I don't know. I may send it to you anyway because it's like half a video. Just basically talking about um, and there was a video before that I messed up too, like a drive and chat video. It was all bouncy and audio was out of sync, so it was atrocious. About essentially priming the system. So we've talked basically what you and I are talking about is trying to set up your program so that you can go straight into combat, right? And you can play at the same level as when you're relaxed, essentially. But you need to be able to train yourself at home base. You need to prepare yourself. You need to set your program up so you can take it into combat and you can immediately tap into the kind of performance you're capable of. There's your ride again. They keep living without you, Mr. Oracle. Um, so the I talked a little more in depth about my theories about priming the system, which is basically you getting ready to hit the shot, and then trying to make the handoff from your self one, right, to self two, the part of your personality that's actually executing the shot. Um, and I talked about the difference between a baseline error and with the second video, I was hitting some balls, but I was lining up the iPad and the sun was right on the screen, so it overheated and like it would have been a pretty long video. I mean, there's probably 15 minutes there or something like that, and then cut off like the next 20 minutes. So I may send you that first part anyway because there's probably something of value in there. But I talked about baseline errors versus face angle errors, and obviously face angle errors are the thing that you're going to have to worry about more than baseline errors. So I try to it was more of a hit and talk instead of a drive and talk. So I was trying to talk about some of those different errors and the fact that you can feel the face angle error, even though I did a face angle error on purpose. It's like, all right, that felt different. And so that's why I think as you step in, after you visualize the shot from behind, as you step in, you have to be thinking more kinesthetically about how to sync everything up and be neutral with the face angle impact. That's how you prepare yourself. And that's that last step of encoding into your subconscious. Now, the more important thing though is the time scale, right? So your perception of what time is doing, and that to me, that's really the limiting factor on you performing at your highest. Like if we push you just through out on the PGA Tour, I think that would be the physical execution of the shots. I don't think would be the issue. I think it's you executing at your highest level of performance suddenly in that environment, right? And so how would you do that? That's the key. So come up with a program that kind of helps you prepare you for that. Um, so so when you talk about the timing thing, what I was doing as an experiment, and I did this the other day with a video too, just for fun. I may send you that one too. Was basically coming up with some kind of a language cadence phrase, and I just kind of made this up immediately, like in a few seconds, because I was thinking, okay, you're trying to manage time, so you're trying to navigate through time at the same pace as when you're relaxed. When you're starting to get levels of anxiety ramp up, you're trying to make sure your perception of time is the same because it's the sequence that throws everything off. And since the face angle is the thing rotating really fast, and that's the least stable part, this axis, and this is the error you're most likely to make on the golf course, right? We've had this discussion before that this is the horizontal stuff that you're going to struggle with. Like we know that even if we didn't talk about the physics of changing the dynamic lofting, right, at impact, like the orientation of the handle position versus the angle of attack, those two vectors. That's not only is that less likely, it's less likely to change partly because it's just hard to physically change, and it would require an entirely different type of sequencing, starting really at P3, because P3 is when you start pushing the pressure signature the other direction, which changes your change of direction, which affects your change of direction, which affects the sequencing. So at P3, you're already setting into motion the kind of vertical dynamics you're going to have at impact. And it's easy to prove this because when you go out and play golf, if you're hitting like a 6-iron shot or a 5-iron shot, whatever it is, when you hit shots on the course, you don't suddenly go, wow, I hit it flush, but I hit way higher than normal. And then, wow, I tried to set up normal for a normal trajectory and hit it way lower. It was solid, but I hit it way lower than normal. Like, that doesn't happen. But you will block one to the right, right? That happens. So that's proof right there that the horizontal stuff, this stuff, with the face angle, not the baseline, because I talked about that in the other video, that is the most error prone, the most prone to experiencing errors when you change the time. So in order to this is the cool part, is you're trying, let me get to the punchline here so I don't ramble off into the ether. It's almost like the conscious and subconscious are like trying to communicate across a void, and you have to find the language that breaks through. You have to create a portal so they can talk to each other, okay? So if I was sitting here going, okay, I'm gonna make a swing, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up with a cadence or a phrase, just a technique, a practice technique, where I was going to go, okay, what do I want to do? I want to navigate the time scale. So does that work for a swing? It's like, let me see. So navigate the time scale. And maybe I choose to make the T in time happen at when both arms are straight. Like, so you've completely thrown the golf club out, right? So right there. So let's say I swing and I try to get the T in time to happen right there. So it's kind of a timing game I'm playing with myself. Now, I want to coordinate all the parts so that everything kind of comes together, and I'm hitting shots while I'm thinking to myself, navigate, right? So navigate, and the T in gate is right when I change directions. The coming down the downswing, and then everything's ramping up and going real fast at that point, right? So only 1/10 of a second to go. So, and then try to hit the time, the T on time, by the time you get to total throwout. So it would be navigate the time scale in the finish. Right? So you just start making some practice swings, getting the feel of that. And again, it's hard to, I got the microphone so you can hear what I'm saying. I'm going to actually say it, but you'd be thinking it rather than say it, unless you want someone next to you on the driving range to think you're losing your mind. But it'd be like hold on, let me do it right. So it'd be navigate the time scale. Navigate the time scale. Navigate the time scale. And then you can speed it up. You could sit there and go, navigate the time scale, or navigate the time scale, and you just play around with it. So it's one thing. One element of it is that you can kind of play with the words and the cadence to kind of see where you're the most comfortable in terms of the overall timing of the swing. But then what happens is you start hitting balls, and what you'll find is that if someone was watching you do this exercise, they would sit there and go, oh, you didn't say it at the right time. And what your conscious mind would do, and your conscious mind is kind of watching itself, would start to try to arrange the cadence for the swing as opposed to the swing trying to arrange itself to the cadence. So at first you start playing with the cadence to see if you can make the swing match the cadence. And then at some point it reverses, where now the game is just to try to make the cadence the same as your natural swing. So you've opened up the portal. So now the subconscious, which knows the way it wants to move the golf club, is now communicating across the portal to your conscious, and your conscious is adjusting that cadence, right? So the subconscious is going, no, you got to do it here. You got to do it now, because this is the way it's going to operate. And the conscious mind learns, so now they're talking to each other. In other words, before, they're essentially, when you trigger off to execution mode, it's always been kind of a brick wall. But this is a way to play this game where you start to get those two things to communicate. So if I just start hitting some shots and try to get that cadence going as I hit the shot, right? Navigate the time scale. Navigate the time scale. Now the key for me when I'm doing this drill, just so I keep the drill pure, is I know what my errors are in my transition. I tend to get the club a little bit flat behind. Well, the club goes out, over rotates, and as I get to the top, it's a little bit abbreviated. The left arm plane gets a little bit flat, and then I change directions a little too quick and start to over rotate my pelvis too soon, and my right elbow kind of falls behind my torso, right? So that's like a level 2 motor pattern change that I've been trying to work on. So the key for me is to not mess with that too much right now, because I want to keep the drill pure. I don't want to have my conscious mind try to figure out how to do that better while I also play the game. I just want to play the cadence game, right? Just to open up the communication portal here. Navigate the time scale. See, the interesting thing is that felt pretty good to me timing wise. But I bet if you put this video on, like you can go in there and do the 1/4 speed, you're gonna see me go navigate the time, right? It's gonna sound like that. You're probably gonna find that my time, when I say time, it's pretty late. I'm trying to get that T in time to happen right after impact, right between impact and the total release of the golf club. Navigate the time scale. See, I think that time was probably late again. But again, my conscious mind is now taking instructions from my subconscious. Navigate the time scale. Now, I think what you could end up doing with this is once the subconscious, this is where the communication can go back and forth. Once the subconscious and the conscious mind are linked together in this drill, you could get a little sexier with it, not necessarily thinking about like motor pattern changes or swing positions. You're thinking about changing your swing. You forget all that for this drill. And then you start to think to yourself, okay, maybe I want to hit a little bit of a cut with this shot, right? So you're kinesthetically kind of encode the cut feeling. And then you play the game, but you also hit the cut shot. So I'm going to encode a cut shot, but still try to get the timing right. Navigate the time scale. Okay, that worked decent. Let's do a draw. So let's encode a draw. I go a little bit over kind of the baseline shift and the face angle stuff in that other video before it cut off. And obviously for the purpose of this drill, the way I'm gonna hit a draw is I'm gonna shift baseline to the right and then get a little more face rotation happening so it's more close coming through impact. You could do that a couple different ways or a combination. You could set it up and get the face more closed at the top and come down. So when you got to P6, face is looking more downward, baseline shifted to the right. You could do it that way and you could feel like normal rotation of the forearms through impact. Or, and this might be more complicated, you could do the same thing and have a little bit more active rotation, however you wanted to do it. Or maybe it's a little bit in between. But let's do a little bit of a encode a draw, right? And remember, I'm thinking about entering the gateway a certain way, but also it's really too about where am I going to go when I hit the T on the total release of the golf club. My shaft should be more this way, right? The face is rotated more closed, and the shafts, instead of, if this is neutral, the shaft looks more like this. That's neutral. This would be a cut, neutral, more of a right baseline draw. Okay, so we encode that, and then we navigate the time. Navigate the time scale. Okay. Probably a little too flicky through the ball, but nice little draw. So that worked. The thing is, I kind of had to forget. That's when you do experiment with this. I'm trying to figure out how much am I thinking about hitting the spots to hit the draw, or am I letting the subconscious do that while the conscious mind plays the game? Am I trying to do both at once, or am I letting the subconscious hit the draw? Let's do one more draw. Navigate the time scale. I was just struck a hair high in the face, and it looked like it tried to draw a little bit. Let's go more severe, like we're drawing it around a tree here. I think it's easier for me, generally, like a draw around a tree, you'd probably do a little bit of both. Face is more closed and give a little more face rotation. But let's go a little forward in the stance, even though that's a little harder to do. It's gonna shallow out the angle of attack, point the same spin loft up, but maybe a little more start right and a little more curve. So kind of a high sweepy sky draw. Okay, that's encoded in, but now navigate. Navigate the time scale. Okay, so I guarantee you when you're watching that, you know I was late with the time. I felt late. It felt like, oh, let me hit my draw and then I'll say time scale at the end. I'll get my time scale. I'll turn my homework in late. All right, let's go back to reasonably neutral. Let's just play the timing game. Navigate the time scale. That was a slight pull draw. Didn't try to do anything there. I tried to hit it pretty straight and I hit a pull draw. Let's do this again. Might be residual motor pattern or residual encoding for draw. Back to neutral. Let's just play the game. Navigate the time scale. Sometimes I forget to say scale. I mean, the key really to me to get it right is at least get navigate right here when you change directions, and then the T on time just barely past impact. Let's do another neutral one. Neutral. Let's just do the drill. Let's just navigate time. Navigate the time. Just a baby fade, but not bad. Didn't say scale there, but I think I got the time closer. I'm going to try to go a little earlier on the time. That's all I'm going to do. Do the drill, neutral, get the time happening a little bit earlier. Navigate the time. Slight pull, but not bad. Okay, let's encode. Let's go a little lower. Let's encode the lower shot. Pretty neutral. I don't really want to cheat it by hitting a low draw. I want to hit it pretty straight, pretty neutral baseline. Set up a little bit more vertical with torso tilt ball, a little back obviously, but still navigate the time. Okay, ball back, encoded low, start navigating, navigate the time. I mean, that was low. It was technically that was just a little bit squirty off the bottom of the face. Wasn't thrilled with that one. Let's do that one more time. Okay, let's encode low. Encode low feels like this to me, right? This is lower right here. This would be a little bit more neutral. Obviously, this would be higher. Thing is, hitting it low, you want to come in more delofted, but when you put the handle forward like that, you're going to point the angle of attack and the handle down with the same amount. So it's really easy when you're trying to hit one low to basically stick the club in the ground, which I don't want to do too much of that. That's kind of a consequence sometimes when you change those vertical angles like that. All right, I'm encoding low right now. I'm encoding low. All right, navigate. Navigate the time. Slight pull drop. Probably 20, I think based on where I think I'm lined up, it's probably 25 feet left. Let's, I don't mind if it draws a little bit. Let's do this. Let's encode low, but let's get that baseline just a little bit more to the right. Encoding low, encoding base load to the right. Navigate the time. Okay, so I did probably put the baseline more to the right, but I snapped the face shut. No bueno. All right, let's pay closer attention to the face angle instead of the baseline. Let's encode that. Low. Face is going to be less closed compared to the last one. Let's navigate. Navigate the time scale. Good shot. I think just barely right of my alignment, not much curve, nice and low. Let's go high. Ball forward, a little more torso tilt. I'm encoding that right now. And navigate. Navigate the time scale. Okay, that was probably about right generally, but I kind of clanked it off the top of the toe a little bit too much. So I probably dumped it underneath a little bit too much. Let's do another high one. Encode high, high neutral. Let's navigate the time scale. So that was dead flush, really nice high launch angle. I don't think the path was that much left there, but I definitely over-rotated the face, so it was kind of a high pull draw. Okay, let's fix that part. Encoding low, or excuse me, high. Encoding high, navigate the time scale. Okay, overcorrected a bit. Not bad. That's probably going to be 15 feet right on my target-ish. Okay, so that's kind of interesting trying to get past that information across the portal. That the subconscious is telling me, kind of giving my conscious mind feedback about what the true cadence is, while I'm also giving instructions back across the portal to what I want, like encoding-wise, kinesthetically, the subconscious to do. The subconscious is kind of doing its job. It's not, I think because my mechanics aren't like dead spot on, I think that's part of what the subconscious is not quite giving me what I want. It's giving me the flavor of what I want. But it might be that I'm making the drill like almost a little too sexy. Like I should break them up into like separate components. We just do the cadence drills and then we move into encoding the different shots. Now, the other thing too I'd mention is this is a fun thing to figure out how on top of the control of the club head you have, or like how on top of the, how much you're in control of the delivery of the club, like precisely. But obviously, you're not going to go out and hit a bunch of different shots on the course if you don't have to. You only move the ball away from your normal flight pattern. Like you only go higher or lower, and you only, let's say you said you play a cut, so you only turn it over and hit a draw. You only do stuff like that if the course forces you to do it. Like there's no reason to do it otherwise. Even like when you were having the debate on the forums about, guys say, people were saying no one would ever cut the ball into a left pin. Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? Especially if they're hitting a 4 or 5 iron. Even the guys on tour with 4 or 5 iron, they're just trying to hit it 15 feet. They're trying to get the middle of their dispersion, end up 10, 12, 15 feet right of the pin with a solid strike on it, going the right distance. I mean, if they're 200 out hitting a 5 iron or 210 out hitting a 5 iron, and the pin's on the left, and they set up for the left edge, and the dispersion is going to push them generally a little bit right of the pin, 5 to 10 feet, yeah, you just put the left edge of your dispersion cone on the left edge of the green. And if it moves away from the way the hole's shaped, it's fine. Who cares? The ball's going through the air. It doesn't matter what the ground is shaped like. It's going through the air. The only time you would like shape one in, like to match the shape of the green or going through the throat around the bunkers toward a pin, like a tucked pin, would be if the green was like rock hard and you got to like bounce it in toward the flagstick. But if you're going to fly it in there and land it and stop it pretty quick, it doesn't matter if the pin's on the left or the right. You're going to hit your stock shot if the golf course will let you, because you have a better handle on what your dispersion cone is, right? So it's more reliable. All right, let's quit being too sexy here. Let's go back to just doing some time. See how good we can get the timing. Don't care where the ball goes. Gonna encode neutral, but just work on the timing of it. Navigate the time scale. Pretty straight, good flush strike with maybe a Johnny Miller 5-foot fade. Okay. Encode neutral. I can feel through impact neutral right now. All the relationships, what it feels like. Navigate the time scale. See, I'm going to resist trying to fix one because my motor pattern's going like this. Chest is getting out in front, arms getting behind. A little bit of stall with the body rotation, and then arms over rotated, right shoulder too high coming through impact. Like I can feel it. I know I'm doing my level 2 motor pattern error is alive and well, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to play with my time scale. Okay, neutral is encoded. Navigate the time scale. Very nice. Straight, just a tad falling right. Good trajectory right out of the center. Good dynamic lofting. It felt more in the club, like the arm swing body pit, it felt more in sync, but I didn't try to do anything. Okay, neutral. Navigate the time scale. Ooh, that was whiffed. Okay, so I'm glad I hit that one poorly, because the interesting thing is I felt my conscious mind say, I don't want to play this timing game anymore. I just want to tell you how to hit the ball solid. Like I felt it. I felt my conscious mind going, make sure you do all this stuff to hit it solid and straight with the right trajectory. And then like I was not invested in the timing game. We're going to invest completely in the timing game here. We're going to open the portal back up. Navigate the time scale. Okay, Late with the time again, but at least that's what I was trying to do. That's where I was focused. Okay. Navigate the time scale. Ooh, that was just right. Again, like a 5-foot fade, right out of the center of the club. Good angle attack, dynamic lofting. I was thinking about nothing but the cadence. That's all I was thinking about. Encode neutral. Navigate the time scale. Little baby fade. The wind's pushing it a little bit too. Maybe I'm hitting it pretty straight, and the ball's just, the wind is just pushing it 10 feet, 5 to 10. Let's do one more. Encode neutral. Navigate the time scale. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna make like 3 or 4 swings, not doing the timing drill. I'm gonna exit from the timing drill. And now I'm gonna let my conscious mind do some motor pattern work, which means I need to feel basically, instead of this, I need to feel like that. And then transition, feeling like my chest stays back a little bit more, arms come down. And then when I exit through, I should feel a little bit like this through, coming through total throw up, more this way as opposed to this way. So let's do that just for a couple. Okay. Try to go a little longer too. Let's do 3 or 4 more. Felt a little different. Obviously, when you're making motor pattern changes, it can feel a lot different. And you look at video and you go, "Yeah, doesn't look quite as quite as different as I thought it felt." I mean, you feel absurdly different, right? Timing was way off with that one with the backswing. Transition was probably decent. Let's do 2 more. Let's angle out to the right a little bit. Okay. Let's go to the left a little bit. Take a look at that angle. This angle I can probably see what my elbow's doing a little bit better. Need to kind of play a cut so I don't hit over the fence here. It's pretty good. All right, Mr. Oracle, that's some kind of fun hit the ball and talk, a little bit about trying to open up that portal of communication. And this is just one way I came up with in the last day or two, thinking about it a little bit more. There's probably 10 different ways to do this, who knows? But this is kind of the way I'm thinking about trying to figure out how to get these two things to communicate and get them in sync together so that they can train each other and work in concert. They give each other the right jobs, and then I think it makes you a little bit more ready to go into combat. So take a look at that and tell me what you think, and we'll talk some more. See ya.